Us. I was saying to you in the break, every time the Chamber puts out a report, it is worth reading. These are such important insights. This one focused on the themes around decoupling. There's a lot to unpack here, but you've broken down four main categories in this report around decoupling. In which of these areas, and can you highlight them for us, in which of these areas is the trend most acute?
Well, we really wanted to have a wake-up call for members and also government that, the fight for the future technologies is going on, and there seems to be no exit ramp. People always associate decoupling with trade wars and with supply chain disruptions. We actually wanted to show that this is far more. We looked into the finance war, the role of the dollar, and found that actually this is possibly not as severe as we anticipated. It pretty much boiled down, and that's the essence of this report, the tech war, the area where can we send data to outside China? Does China permit us to have data coming in and so forth? The tech war is the real challenge that we see right now.
Yeah, there's a line in this report, the divergence in the tech ecosystems is a quagmire. That's from the report. So we're looking, it seems from this report that we're looking at a bifurcated world when it comes to technology standards and data, as you say. What are your recommendations then for governments and for companies in terms of navigating that new reality?
Well, I mean, the report is called Patchwork Globalization. I mean, that's what you described in this bipolarization. It's one market in China, and then there's one market rest of the world. And that really is very bad for the economic integration, and it risks the collapse of economies of scale, which drive efficiency and competition as we know it. The recommendations, first of all, for the companies is just wake up, don't wait. Things are going on already now. Look into your supply chain. You might be pretty much on your own, very safe in China. But if you are, and 27% of our members say that, if you're reliant on one American semiconductor or on software, all of a sudden you might not be in a position to operate. So wake up call for the members and to the European and the Chinese authorities, of course, stop tit for tat, stop this kind of securitization worries that you have, stop this kind of self-reliance that we see unfolding in China. So there has to be something, and they have to be aware of the cost that comes along with that.
Absolutely. Joerg, I'm going to ask you about that cost a little bit in a couple of seconds here. Let me just break the daily midpoint here for our viewers out of the PBOC on the currency here. 647.46 against the US dollar. Now, Joerg, just to pick up on what you mentioned there, obviously it's to varying degrees, this will cost companies money, I guess, depending on which sector you're looking at here. Could you give us a ballpark figure, though, of how much that number actually goes up? Because you'd have to run, I would imagine, things like dual systems, R&D, that sort of thing.
We didn't count that. It's, I think, in the early stages, but I think Deutsche Bank had a paper out that went to the billions or trillions. No, we actually wanted to say that actually it is going to be a deliberate taxation of your customers if you force companies to have a dual system, an IT system in the US or maybe in Europe, as well as one IT system here. The cost of that is, of course, to the point where some banks or some insurance companies, foreign nature, might be not willing to take that cost or might move out. No, it's to put a figure on this one, very difficult at this stage, but the tendency is clearly written on the wall. We go fast track into globalization and sever ties.
Okay, and Joerg, since you mentioned data, one of the other things too, I'm just looking at your report here, one of the things you're flagging of rapidly growing concern, apart from data, are standards. Talk to us a little bit more about how that's affecting, I guess, both sectors that are contentious and non-contentious, geopolitically speaking. What does that mean?
Well, standards, of course, there's a global standard setting, there's a global body, but we can see already since about a couple of years that China is sort of introducing their own standards. either in China or projecting this in the Belt and Road Initiative. So in a way, the world doesn't need two standards. The world needs to be unified on how things are operating and working. And there is this real danger because the economic power of China is something where actually they might succeed in having a dual system across the world. I think this is not good for Chinese companies as well to have a dual system, but there it is. China wants to be not in this seat next to it; they want in the driver's seat. So standards really means that you have basically to look into your software, into your data flow, into your operations to see if that's actually eligible to work in China or not. The report has 20 pages on this one, and we will do a follow-up study in May.
Joerg, there's a very immediate issue facing auto manufacturers right now in Europe and other parts of the world, which is the supply of computer chips. Is this something that's being discussed in the chamber? Has anyone from government level reached out to the EU chamber here in China to try and source chips, either from mainland China or from Taiwan, to help with this issue? Is this being discussed?
No, it's a serious problem. I mean, the news added that a European car manufacturer lost to the tune of 110,000 cars in December. You can imagine what that does to the supply chain, less components and so forth. It all boils down that 2 or 3 of these major suppliers of these car industries, such as Bosch Continental, were short of semiconductors. Just keep in mind that every car of sort of upscale car has 140 little computers on board. And if you have a shortage on semiconductors, as these companies had, you have to make a choice of shutting down 2 factories with low-end products and sort of try to get the last semiconductors you get your fingers on into the upscale. Now, this is something because of the fact that Huawei and others were so desperate to buy up everything around the market in order to be on the safe side. So there's a disruption based on capacity problems. But what we're outlining is this is going to move on to the point where actually, because of export controls, because of governmental intervention, there will be all of a sudden supply chain disruptions, not just because of capacity problems. So better get prepared, and our members, I'm afraid, are not really prepared. 50% say they are aware of it, and only 11% said they are prepared for this.